So I started the new year by watching the anthology that released on 1st of January on Netflix called Ghost Stories, roping in the same creators that have collaborated on Bombay Talkies in 2013, Lust Stories in 2018, and now taking a solid left turn, having ventured into the horror genre with Ghost Stories. Now before I even started watching the film, I assumed that Dibakar Banerjee and Anurag Kashyap will be comfortable in this genre, and it was beyond fathomable for me to imagine Zoya and especially Karan Johar to present a bone-chilling horror piece. Irrespective of my assumptions, without providing any spoilers, I will present to you the good and bad aspects of each story and ultimately concluding whether Ghost Stories was a movie-going experience worth clicking on Netflix. First, we started with Zoya Akhtar's story, which features Janhvi Kapoor, Surekha Sikri, and Vijay Verma. The story focuses on a nurse tending to an old lady that is bedridden. The old lady lives in a dilapidated house and has been presumably left in the house for 2 days by her son. Janhvi Kapoor as the nurse Samira is in brilliant form in this short story. Janhvi as a performer was faced with a lot of criticism for her grasp on the Hindi language and screen presence, but you can clearly see the growth of the individual as a comfortable and capable performer in this short. This is one of the few stories in this anthology that creates an immersive experience, wanting you as viewers to know more about the characters and their stories. Why has the old lady been left in such a state? What is the reason for the existence of such a strange relationship? How does a bedridden old lady suddenly sit up, begging to be tended? Zoya with this shot really showcases her skill of sucking you in, specifically with her camera movement and empty spaces, pauses and moments taken to fully grasp what is happening with the characters. The climax of this shot may be disappointing for some, but it was one of the few stories in the anthology that was enjoyable and didn't really transition to metaphors, analogies, and storytelling tools that went beyond the surface. This specific point especially brings me to the second story by Anurag Kashyap. The story that will be the most mind-numbingly creepy and definitely tells much more than is provided on the surface. The story features Sobhita Dhulipala in the main role, a pregnant woman that takes care of her curious nephew in the day, picking him up from school and entertaining him till the evening when his father picks him up. The woman is haunted by nightmares, specifically pertaining to the birth of her child. The nephew is extremely attached to the woman, beyond just conventional familial ties, and we see him getting irked at the amount of tending and care that needs to be given to the unborn child. The story, especially as it dwells on the woman and her house setting, taking care of birds' eggs in her attic and organizing and talking to a room filled with dolls, is creepy and an extremely slow burn. The story presents minimal dialogues and heavily relies on imagery and metaphors. Sobhita is brilliant in the film, showcasing the cautiousness and anxiety of giving birth to a healthy child, and the child who plays the nephew especially shines, wanting and craving for all the attention. Anurag's short will be a little tough to digest, as most of its imagery will go beyond the understanding of the masses. If you've seen Anurag's earlier work, you can still decipher through the story the several elements he tries to rope in to tell more than just a story about a pregnant woman and an overly attached child. This is the point where I realized that Ghost Stories is not at all what I expected. As an avid viewer of horror movies, Ghost Stories is not intended to be of the genre of films like The Conjuring or Insidious, basically the inclusion of the supernatural and several jump scares, but its attempt is to transport you to different worlds and families like Hereditary or Midsommar, trying to create an inescapable environment, which in moments shines, but definitely similarly at other times makes you not care about it at all if you are marginally disconnected. The third story presented by Dibakar Banerjee was my favorite of all four. It transports you to a small town which seems desolate and ruined. A man is walking towards this small town apparently to conduct a survey, irritated at the fact that he was dropped off a few kilometers away. As the man is trying to gauge where exactly he is, he stumbles upon a child who guides him to a dwelling where he is with a little girl. This is when the principal character gets to know about the mysterious happenings of the town. Aspects that especially stand out in this short are the cinematography, art direction, and the effective way with which Banerjee tells such a nuanced and layered tale. The story sheds light on the perils of gentrification and the predatory nature of society when it is divided into haves and have-nots, the daily struggle of shared existence in society, and how many of us find ourselves being pawns in a chess game we have no control over. Gulshan has fully immersed himself in this role, and Sukant Goyal, an actor that you might remember from Kapoor & Sons, honestly has put forth his most convincing and impressionable performance. The less I say about this short, the more effective it will be when you watch it. Karan Johar's story featuring Avinash and Mrunal Thakur presents everything visually but lacks impact and depth when it comes to its storytelling. The story presents breathtaking costumes and a stunning palatial set in the form of a mansion. The film focuses on an arranged marriage and how the girl is absolutely taken aback as she moves in with her new husband that speaks to his dead grandmother that passed away 20 years ago. The torment that she goes through and the lack of understanding about the source of such a connection with the dead, spiraling into absolute madness, is more or less the short presented by Karan Johar. Its eventual climax is a bit underwhelming, but it is undeniable that the short presents great performances by Avinash and Mrunal Thakur, who looks exceptionally beautiful by the way. The surprise performance I must say in this short is by Hiba Shah, who plays the domestic help that is associated with the family for 32 years. Her stoic yet intimidating presence in this short was one of its biggest highlights. Holistically, I must say, however, I wasn't blown away by the content presented in Ghost Stories. It undoubtedly shines in moments, especially for me, Dibakar Banerjee's story stands out, but from the perspective of stories dedicated to the horror genre, this Netflix venture will not give you sleepless nights whatsoever. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about Ghost Stories. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.